Welcome to Tech in the Car. This is my 2022 Audi RS3, and in this video I'm going to give you an owner's account or review of what this car is like. Is it as good as it's hyped up to be? Is it as good as I've said it is in my other 20 videos I made on this car? What are the things that I love about it? What are the things I hate about it? And is it worth the massive price? And also, is this perhaps the best daily car ever? And I know that's going to create some discussion among everybody watching. Is this the best? I think it may well be, but I'll tell you why that is in this video. Please give me a like and subscribe if you like it. So let's get on with it now, shall we? Let's start with a story. This story is about my journey to this car, but this is not the car that I ordered. In fact, the car that I ordered to replace my own car is now due in 2023. So just if you don't know the story, I ordered it on the launch day, 11th of August, 2021. And now we are a year later and I still don't have it. So this is not the car that I ordered, but this is the same car. And I'll tell you how I got to it later on in this video. But for anyone that's interested, which if you're watching this video, you probably are, this is a 2022 RS3 launch edition. So there are only 96 of these available in the UK, and arguably this is the best specified car that you can get right now in the UK. So in the UK, you have the option of the standard edition RS3, the carbon edition, or the Vorsprung. So here it is, my brand new 2022 Audi RS3 Turbo Blue Launch Edition with the matrix LED lights, the matte wheels with the red brake calipers. We've got the air vent right here, which is a real air vent. We've got the side skirts on the side, back wheels, and then the back here we've got the rear design with the twin oval tailpipes. Due to the silicon chip shortage, even if you were to order a Vorsprung model now, you would lack features which are in this launch edition. You wouldn't get the tyre pressure monitoring system for individual tyres. You wouldn't get the wireless charging. You wouldn't get the phone box. And you wouldn't get the very, very clever Audi Connect key card, which lets you use your phone and the key card to open your car. Those features are all gone because there aren't enough computer chips to make them. And in fact, the reason why my own car is so delayed is almost certainly because there aren't enough chips even to make the cars and meet the demand for the current year. Now, it's not a great experience. If you ordered a car a year ago and you were told you had to wait another 6 or 7 months, that's not a good experience. I'm sure lots of people watching this video are in exactly that position. You might have ordered from anywhere in the world. It might be the UK, it might be Europe, it might be the US, and you might have been told there's a massive, massive wait. So I feel your pain. I know exactly how you feel. In the end, I was able to get one of these. This is a demo car from a dealer that I got a really good deal on, which I needed to do because my finance was up on my previous car. So I managed to get one, and I don't think I would necessarily even swap this when my Vorsprung order comes next year, whenever that may be, because it's missing those features. Originally, these cars were meant to come with a 360 surround view camera, but that was removed before orders were even delivered due to the chip shortage, and now all these other features are gone. So what are the options? Well, when you were first able to order an RS3, the on-the-road price was around 53 once you added in tax. The top trim was around 55, and if you added a few extras here and there, it came to about 57, 58. So you could get a Vorsprung for about £58,000. Add a colour like Turbo Blue and it's about £59,000. Today, those cars have increased in price twice, despite Audi not being able to deliver them. A Vorsprung version like this car now costs almost £64,000. That's an increase of between £5,000 and £6,000 on cars which can't even be delivered yet. So not impressed by that at all. Of course, I'm not here to complain about the pricing. That's something which everybody has a problem with. I'm here to say about this car. Now, what makes a launch edition? Well, what makes a launch edition is, first of all, red brake calipers. You cannot get those in the UK at all. Now, obviously, if you want to have ceramic brakes, which you can do, then they are available in a silver design, but everyone else gets black in the UK. Now, I know in the US, they basically all come with red brake calipers, but in the UK, it's either black or carbon ceramic brakes with their silver color. The other thing we have down the side here with these launch editions is a panoramic sunroof. Now you can get that on the Vorsprung, that's still something which is included. Otherwise you don't get a panoramic sunroof with the RS3. Now I have made some changes to this car. At the front of this car, I've changed all the logos for black because in the launch edition, it came with the silver rings and silver on the RS3 logo and at the back on the Audi ring. So I've changed that to black. Those come as standard in black on the Vorsprung and on the carbon black editions. And in lots of countries, there is a black optics package like the US, where everything will go black anyway, including the wing mirrors and all of the surround. So generally speaking, it's easier, I would say, to get a blacked out RS3 with trim than it is to get a silver one. Silver, I think, is going to be quite rare in the scheme of things. Now, I personally like the silver look. On the previous generation, my car had silver. I think on the new generation, black is the way to go. I really do. I'm not a fan of silver. I'm also not a fan of the Sportbacks. If you're watching this in the US, I'm sorry, I don't think the Sportback looks as good. And the reason I don't think it looks as good is because I think the end of the Sportback, the rear, is just a mess. It doesn't look aggressive enough. It kind of looks a bit round, a bit soft, and it makes it look a bit childish. Now, of course, everybody has their own opinions, and there's loads of people I know that have a Sportback and love their Sportbacks. For me, I'm a saloon guy. I think the saloon is a perfect all the way around design of the RS3. But some people might say this is a bit of an old person's car. I don't know how you can say that. But, you know, everyone has their own opinions. That's what's great about cars. There's something for everybody. Maybe it's time for you to get a new car. Maybe you want an RS3 or any of the other cars on my channel. Well, I've partnered with exchangemycar.com, the smart way to sell your car. If you click on the link down below in the description, you can check out and get a valuation for your car for free. Exchange My Car will collect your car and agree a price with you before they come and collect the car. No haggling involved. If you're accurate with your description, then you'll get the price that they said, and they will pay you before the car is taken away. So click my link down below, check out exchangemycar.com, the smart way to sell your car. The RS3 is the first Audi with an all blacked out front grille here. There's no other Audi like this on the market. I'm sure Audi will bring this design to their new RS models going forward. But as of right now, this is the only car with a totally blacked out grille. And you can see here, what I mean by that is right down to the corner of the lights, it's all black, which means there's a really nice contrast between the body color. Now, obviously, if you get a black car, you won't have that contrast. And I think that kind of spoils it if you can't tell that it's an RS3, because that face mask makes it obvious what it is, or at least makes it obvious to everyone that is something special and unique. You've got our Audi rings, like I said, mine are in black, RS3 logo in black. This is a total insect eater. This car has been attacked by many, many insects. Really bright LED lights, of course, which are very, very cool, and have the RS3 logo on startup and have a checkered flag the rest of the time in the corner, which is super, super cool. You can see down here, here's our checkered flag. Might be hard to see in the sun. We've got a really aggressive bonnet. I love these lines down the middle here. They look really, really cool. And most RS3s come with the adaptive cruise control, the lane assist, so it's got that. But what that does mean, and you'll see that when we get inside, it means we get a round steering wheel. You cannot have a flat bottom steering wheel and the full drive assistant pack on any 2022, 2023 Audi model at all. And we'll talk about that when we get in the car and why exactly that is. But another weird thing that Audi have done, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's check out the engine on this car, because an RS Audi is all about the engine, and the engine is what makes it special. RS, by the way, does not sound for really sporty, although that would be very appropriate. So this is the 2.5 litre 5-cylinder RS Audi engine, which originated in the rally days and did really, really well. And it is one of the last, well, it is the last remaining production car with a 5-cylinder engine, which means that it has a very unique sound, which no other cars have. Now, in the new versions of these cars, the 8Y RS3s, there are lots of OPF filters and noise reduction features built into these cars to reduce the noise due to European emissions regulations, and those will also affect US cars, even though they're not covered by the same emission regulations, because let's be honest, Audi are not going to be creating special parts for every single version of the car. They're all about making it as easy and simple as possible and reducing the cost, which is why lots of features are missing. But this engine in the European spec has 394 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque, and this car gives us more torque earlier in the power band, which means that it has a much faster get up and go. In fact, 0 to 60 officially is 3.9 seconds. In reality, it's more like 3.5 seconds. Some people have even had it faster than that. So this is a very, very fast car. In the US, this car has 401 horsepower. Now there's a question about metric versus non-metric horsepower and whether or not actually the US version has more power than the European version. I'm not sure the answer to that. I've had a look at it and I'm kind of 50-50 on it, but either way, when I dynoed one of these cars, which you can see my video on the channel, I got an average of about 410 horsepower. So this car definitely has more power and more torque than Audi says, and it can do 0 to 60 much, much faster. By the way, if you have a carbon edition version, this cover is all carbon fiber, which looks very cool, but on every other version, it's just plastic. This car, because the engine is quite large for the space, has a battery in the rear, so the battery is underneath the boot floor at the back. But at the front here, we have everything you would expect. It just looks very, very cool to have the RS logo on an engine. But that is the front of the car. Obviously, we have a gas strut, so you don't have to worry about holding it up. And we have this fake vent here, which again is meant to give the impression of the sporty days when Audi was doing rally. It doesn't do anything, but it's a feature of all new Audis. Overall, this car is a real looker in my opinion, especially in a bright color like this car is, so you can see the contrast of all the details and the wheels. Now is the time where I tell you all about the cool technology that's been added to this new car. So previously, RS3s were renowned for their Quattro all-wheel drive system, which was based on a Haldex system, which wasn't true four-wheel drive. They were very front-heavy and renowned for being not the most sporty of handling. Well, on the new RS3, Audi totally changed it. At the back, they added a new multi-plate clutch system, which allows up to 50% of the power to go to the back of the car, and then up to 100% of that to each individual wheel, which means if you put it into RS torque rear mode, this car can drift, and it can drift really, really good. Now, I have to be honest, I haven't tried it on a road, and you should never try that on a road. You know, I know BMW drivers may well try those kinds of things on the road, but I don't recommend it. And so I would suggest that that's not a good idea. But anyway, it has that feature, and it is the first RS3 which has a drift mode. And when you put it into RS Torque Rear, it says do not use it on public roads, only for the racetrack. And this car definitely has more of a feeling of rear bias. And don't get me wrong, this is still a four-wheel drive car and it's still primarily front-wheel driven. But when you go around corners, when you do the launch control, you can feel the rear of the car moving and wiggling around, which you never got on the previous generation. So Audi have tuned this car to make it much, much, much more fun to drive. Now, realistically, does that matter when you're driving it on a normal road? No, it doesn't, but they've done a bit of clever engineering here, which deserves some credit. So I'm impressed with it. So thanks Audi for doing that. It definitely makes the car a notch above the previous generation. Which brings us to the next point. Is this better than the previous generation? Yes. Does it sound as good? No. If you want the best sounding RS3, this is not it. If you want the best RS3, then this is it. Let's talk side design. So the first thing you'll notice is the RS3 is 33mm wider at the front than the previous generation. And we've got these flared arches at the front, which look very, very cool. And then we've got some vents behind the wheel arches. Now, these are real vents, despite what some people might have told you. They are real. They just don't have the air coming out from directly in front, because if you look down here, there's no space for the air to come through. The actual air intakes are slightly further inside, so you can't see them, but they are definitely real. And they do help reduce the air pressure and therefore improve performance. Along the side here, we have these really cool side sills which stick out and are much more aggressive. The previous RS3 didn't have anything like that, so that's a big improvement. And we've got the more angular design here of the bodywork, which is very, very clever and looks much better. Now let's talk about wheels for a second here. You'll notice that this has 19-inch wheels. These are really, really wide front wheels. In fact, these wheels are very, very special because they have been designed to help with that performance of this car. The wheels on the front here are 265/30 wheels, so they are very, very wide for the front of the car. Again, designed to reduce that oversteer and give it better performance. They're not as wide as the rear, although they are still wide, and they are 19-inch wheels by standard on the RS3. There are 3 wheel designs. We've got the 10-spoke Y wheels here. These are in matte black. We also have a glossy black with graphic design, and there is another version which is silver, which has got even more spokes on it, which I'm not a big fan of, but it looks quite good on the standard edition cars. At the rear, the new RS3 looks, in my opinion, a lot better as a saloon. We've got the black badges again. They were originally silver on the launch editions. One thing I don't like is this horrible plastic honeycomb design which the RS3 has. Doesn't matter if it's a saloon or the sportback, sedan or sportback, makes no difference. I think the reason why it's there is because every other Audi A3 has it in the corner section here, and so if it didn't have something there, it would look like a standard A3. So they added it in the middle. It serves no function whatsoever. I would rather they just removed it altogether. That's my least favorite feature of it, although you get used to it. Obviously, it looks good black contrast against a bright color. We have our dual oval exhausts, which you can fit your hands in, and these are really nice and perforated on the new RS3. Now, they aren't connected to the exhaust behind the dual exhaust pipes, and they're separate from this section, which is part of the bumper. And I think that's a design to try and help if there's an accident with repairs. It doesn't risk having to replace the exhaust system, so that's a good idea. On certain models, we have a kick to open feature where the back will open. So overall, a very, very cool design from the back. Looks better in saloon than sportback. Here inside the RS3, I've made some changes. You will remember if you see my other videos, the UK spec RS3s are boring, they're black, they don't feel special in any way. So I made some changes, and those changes include these red vents and a full Alcantara steering wheel, plus some red mats as well down the bottom. Otherwise, this car was so unspecial inside. Don't get me wrong, the quality feels very good, although there are definitely areas which could do with some work. I mean, how is that for scratchy plastic? That's horrible. The door handles, they feel like they're from the 1990s. You know, the switches feel nice. The steering wheel, even before it was Alcantara, did feel nice, although it's round. We'll come onto that in a second. This gloss plastic in the middle, black, it's scratch prone. It looks bad, plus it reflects light when it's sunny. Talking about reflecting light, I have a sunroof, I'm very happy about that, but on a sunny day, the light from the sun hits this screen and you cannot see this screen at all unless you close the sun blind like I've just done now. Otherwise, you can't see anything at all. If I open it, no ability to see that screen. That means if I'm reversing, it's pretty dangerous. Yes, of course, it still beeps, there are sensors, but that is a tiny, tiny thing that Audi probably encountered when they were testing this car and decided to ignore. Technology-wise, I've got a beautiful head-up display here on this launch edition, which is also available on the Vorsprung. We've got the fantastic Audi virtual cockpit, which has 3 different modes on the RS3, which is very, very cool. And then we've got other nice things. These seats are really comfortable. Yes, this car does not have the RS design pack, which is available everywhere else in the world, which gives you these red vents, which gives you the Alcantara steering wheel with matching stitching, either green or red, depending on where you are. In the US, it's green only for some reason. Rest of the world, you can get red as well. And it also gives you red or green stitch seats at the front and the back, plus little inserts here in Alcantara matching the color, which is much, much more special. Those are missing in the UK. You can't get them, so it's black and only black. Plus you also get matching seat belts, which you don't get in the UK. So the UK has been let down. I've complained about this before, but it's true. In terms of everything else, it is a very, very nice interior. These seats are very, very comfortable. They're a great seating position. It's fully electric, fully adjustable, and I feel very happy here. I really think an Alcantara steering wheel, if you don't have one, is a must. I think it makes the car feel much more special. It looks a lot better, and I would strongly recommend it. But you will notice it is round, and this is a big point of contention. So there are no Audis built from 2021 until now which have a flat bottom steering wheel with adaptive cruise control and lane assist. Audi changed the system on the steering wheels from being a torque-based system, where if you just touch it with a bit of force, it will recognize you're holding the steering wheel and basically deactivate, to a capacitive system like your phone, which means you physically have to touch the wheel. And Audi do not currently make a flat bottom steering wheel which has this capacitive technology. There is a debate going on that the RS e-tron GT or the e-tron GT has such a wheel, but when trying to be retrofit to the RS3, it hasn't worked so far. So currently there are no cars which are compatible. In fact, if you buy any RS car with a driver assistance pack now, which is new, it will come with a round steering wheel. I'm sure this has got something to do with the chip shortage, and I'm sure later on, either this year, next year, a flat bottom version with the capacitive controls will be available and people can then change their steering wheels. But right now, if you want the driver assistance features, which are very, very, very good and keep you in lane and improve safety, then you have to have a round wheel. So you might as well make it Alcantara like I've done. That is the interior of the RS3. It feels special. We got this carbon fiber effect here. It feels special when you're in it. At nighttime, it's got ambient lighting, although it's missing the ambient lighting across the front of the dash here. That goes with the carbon effect on the cars. If you don't have the carbon effect, you get ambient lighting across the middle there. In terms of other technology, we've got our modes on here, which let you select them and choose between them, which are fantastic, and our drive modes, but we'll talk about that when we're driving. What else is new on this car? There is the option for Alexa, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. If you click on the media button and then go to source, you can choose between them. Now, this isn't really a very good system, and the reason for that is because this car has an inbuilt SIM card, which comes with a certain amount of data. Here in Europe, you get 3 GB for free, and after that, you have to pay. Unlike previous versions of the A3 and other cars, you can't set up a hotspot from your phone, which means that the built-in streaming services will only work if you pay for those inbuilt streaming services. That means you're going to look to pay maybe £100 or $100 minimum a year to use those inbuilt streaming services, and it just isn't worth it when you have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. So that's a weird oversight from Audi. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Either give us free streaming without data limits, or just let us do a hotspot. But the fact that I would have to pay means I'm never going to use those. So sure, inside here, there's a lot of advanced technology. We've got automatic parking, which is really cool. We've got all the drive modes, and in general, it feels very nice. There is scratchy plastic. There is an annoying little gear shifter, which should be more sporty on an RS car. But overall, this is a really good interior and a really good place to be. Now, at the start of the video, I said, is this the best car for a daily driver? At the start of this video, I asked the question, is this the best daily driver on the market? Is there anything better? Now, I think the answer to that is yes. And the reason for that is because it's compact, and compact is a really useful thing in places where it's hard to park, where there's narrow roads. Some places there are really big roads, it doesn't matter. But in cities, places like that, having a car which isn't super wide and super big is a benefit. This car is exactly the right size for parking, but it's also got space. It's got space for family in the back seat. It's got space in the boot for the shopping. You can put the back seats down. It's also a good looking car, and because it's an RS car, it's a fast car. So it gives you that handling, it gives you that performance, it gives you the looks, it gives you the practicality, and it's not so large it's impossible to park. Is it as fast as a Porsche 911 Turbo? No, it isn't. Is it as amazing as a Lamborghini Urus in terms of speed, power? No, it isn't, but it's also not as expensive, and it's also not as large. The RS6 is a fantastic car, but it's a big beast of a car that feels heavy. And even the fact that it sits on 23-inch wheels is amazing, because you don't feel like you're on wheels that size. It's still a big car. This car is the perfect all-round car. Now, most people won't buy an RS car, and that's a shame, because having an RS car means you've got a car which can be fun, dynamic, but also practical. If you live in a country with lots of space, then yes, I understand if you want a bigger car. But for everyone else, which I think is the majority of the world, this is the best car you can get right now, in my opinion.